progress. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of ThymeWeaver and Friends. Today, I am joined by a very special friend, Jaycee from Unfurl Wellness. I'm so excited to have her here today to tell us a little bit about all of the wonderful things that she does. Um, I know you as a community herbalist, a birth attendant, right? And just an all-around wonderful human. So thank you for saying yes to joining me. And maybe you could introduce yourself and just say a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So yes, my name is Jaycee, and I'm in a very different part of the world than
Oh,
Nicole.
yes, we are.
So it is indeed morning here, and I live in the West Kootenays of British Columbia, Canada. So BC being the most western province of Canada, and then I'm nestled in the mountains and river valleys of the southern interior of the province.
So
Yeah,
beautiful.
and what do I do? Yeah. I'm a community herbalist, like you said. I'm mostly self-taught. I teach herbal workshops in my community. I teach people to make simple herbal remedies. I attend home births. And I also practice Ayurvedic lymphatic drainage massage. I have many hats. And I'm going to be working on a flower farm this year, which I'm very excited about. To
Wow, a
be
flower.
surrounded by beauty. Yeah.
That's amazing. Very cool. So you do lots of things, and I think that's wonderful to have many hats and to be inspired by like so many different aspects of life, right?
Yes, for sure.
Amazing. So I think it's really interesting. I mean, this is mainly a like fiber related podcast, but because in all of my episodes, I always talk about a plant, and I think that people who watch my channel know my love for plants and stuff. So I don't know, just curious, do you have any creative endeavors besides making plant magic and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, with my hands, definitely my medicine making is my main outlet, along with, yeah, having a garden. So growing herbs and food and flowers. And I've like dabbled in many crafts. So, like, yeah, I've done some knitting. I like to sew, but nothing like I haven't, really gone deep with any of those crafts. But I definitely yeah, I like making things and I like making art. But I'd say my biggest creative outlet is dance and movement and embodied movement. And I actually just started dancing again. Like it's been 8 years since I've, taken a class or done any performing. And I had this this dream before the new year. And it was like, you got to dance and you've got to perform. And so I'm doing that now, which is super exciting to kind of like come back to something that was such a big part of my life. And that's actually like my theme for the year is like creative expression, which, yeah, excited to see what that brings.
That is really cool. And like you said, to go back to something that maybe had been important to you at another time in your life. And yeah, creative expression. I think that there are so many ways that we can be creative, and it's so important for our well-being as humans walking on this earth, right? To be able to express ourselves.
Yeah. It's not prioritized for a lot of people. A lot of people feel like they can't, like I'm not an artist, I can't do that, or I don't dance, and yeah, I think it's an interesting way that a lot of us were brought up that it kind of stops for a lot of people. And yeah, just like, like herbal medicine is people's medicine. I think we all need to like add a bit of that back, knowing that we don't need to be experts to, yeah, be
Exactly.
creative.
And there's no wrong way to do it, right? Like you can, like, there's no wrong way to pick up some fiber and like crochet or knit. Like you can really do whatever you want with it. Like no one's, even if you wanted to just like tie knots and make something beautiful, like you don't need any special tools or anything. So Very nice. And tell me how you started on this plant path and like how did that start for you?
Hmm. Well, it definitely goes back to being, yeah, my mother's daughter and my grandmother's granddaughter. And yeah, there's a lot of women in my family who had gardens, big, beautiful gardens. And my mom was, yeah, no different. My mom has a beautiful garden. And yeah, I was just out there, as a toddler, digging in the dirt with her. And I have lots of beautiful memories of like planting bulbs with her. And I think that was my start, just like being outside with my hands in the soil, and exploring. And yeah, but then it kind of shifted and evolved because my mom, and like her sisters and her mom were very much more into like perennials, right? Like landscaping and yeah, shade gardens and native plants, but more for the aesthetics and the beauty. And then in high school is when I got into growing food. Um, yeah, and like started a community garden at our school and built raised beds on the boulevard because I grew up in a small city, a suburb. So growing food wasn't hugely, part of the aesthetic.
So
So
true.
yeah, built some raised beds right out on the sidewalk to engage neighbors. Yeah, and so yeah, it started then evolving into food, and then it was when I have just very sensitive skin, and I was having a lot of challenges with my skin being really dry from like any sort of cleanser that I would buy, even natural ones. And then also just learning about what is in conventional, deodorant and all the beauty and skincare products.
Mhm.
I just started making my own. And that was kind of when I started more into herbal medicine. It started with skincare, and then I took a course on medicine making, and then it just continued from there. And I've continued to study and experiment, and now I have a full apothecary. And yeah, that's been mostly for the last 6 years, 6, 7 years, the herbal medicine journey. Yeah.
Very nice. And so you say you started making like skincare products and stuff, and that's you have like a business, no? Unfurl Wellness. So do you
Yeah,
still offer herbal products and herbal?
I do very select few.
Mhm.
I make a facial cleansing oil and a facial moisturizing oil, and it's always with, herbs and flowers that I grow or that I find growing wild around me. And then I make a herbal breast oil, which I actually love. That's
Mhm.
really, yeah, the intention behind that is really, to have a relationship with our bodies in like a loving way and a curious way, and to develop a practice of knowing our breasts so that if things change, we'll know, like we'll be the first ones to know, but more from like a ritual self-love way than like a fear-based, like checking for something that's wrong. um
Exactly.
yeah, and then some balms, but yeah, mostly I'm moving a little bit more away from that and teaching people how to do it themselves. Like that's my big passion, is you don't need to rely on anyone, even me.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's so important in herbal medicine that like you don't need to buy that like super special combination of herbs that someone prepares for you. You can do it yourself and you can find what works specifically for you, for your body, for your skin, for everything. So that's
Yes.
super important. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing in teaching because I know that you have like courses going on, courses coming up. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I started last year was like all about teaching. That was my theme last year. And I did a lot of in-person teaching, which was wonderful and fabulous. But then I met a friend online. So, like you, I've never met her in the flesh yet, but we will be this summer. We met in a birth group, a
Okay.
Facebook group, and we just started. chatting, and we completely just connected and have really interesting, we have the same values, I would say, but very different perspectives and lived experiences. So that was always fascinating, like talking about our different perspectives. Anyways, long story short, we got along so well and both wanted to do more teaching, and specifically online. And so we've collaborated and created a class called Plants and Mushrooms for Mental Health. And it's an online class, a 6-week online class, and we taught it for the first time last fall, and we're about to teach it again starting in April. So I know your audience is, different time zone than me's, but you never know. The recordings are always available, and it's a really great class. Super interesting. Yeah, we go through all the different like systems of the body and how everything's connected, like mental health is not just in our minds, and we argue actually we believe it's more in our bodies. And then we introduce different plant, and she's the mushroom expert, so mushroom allies to support us along our journeys.
Oh, interesting. And so you were talking about the time zone, which I know that you are like on the Pacific time, right? And so, I mean, there's probably people watching this maybe who are out in California or around your area that the time zone wouldn't be that different. And like you
Amazing.
said,
Yeah.
the videos are available afterwards. So like you can be present in the class, but you could also watch the classes afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's with my co-teacher, Andy, of Smoke and Forage is her business.
Yeah. Found the information below. And then also I will leave down below like how people can sign up for this if they're interested in getting involved. And so how often are the classes?
So they're weekly. Yeah. For 6 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Weeks.
Nice.
And then we're hoping to run the class in the spring and then another time in the fall this year for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Okay. And you were talking about like the body and stuff. I think, well, actually, before we get into that, you mentioned that like this is your friend that you found through a birth group on Facebook, and you guys just connected and became friends and were able to collaborate on like this amazing course to offer to the world. And I was going to mention how we connected because Jaycee and I know each other from last year's Comfrey Conference, which was organized by Susun Weed. So if you don't know Susun Weed, I highly recommend her, and I'm sure Jaycee would as well. She's a very renowned herbalist from the United States, and she organized an online conference speaking about comfrey. And so Jaycee sent in some videos of her experience with comfrey and talking about the herb. And I also sent in about dyeing with comfrey and using comfrey for color. And we connected that way. And we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, so fabulous that internet I've never really had this experience of like actually really connecting with people online until the last year. So it's been pretty wonderful.
It really is. And maybe do you want to share what's coming up this spring, summer of the second conference, the second edition?
Yes. So this year, the online conference is going to be all about St. John's wort, St. Joan's wort, Hypericum perforatum. And both Nicole and I, we both have our oils.
Oh, just in case. Cheers. You never know when you could use some Hypericum oil. You never know.
Very true. And Nicole and I are both actually presenting this year. So we submitted just short videos last year, which anyone can do, and you can still do too if anyone has experience, right? But now we are both going to be presenting, so a little bit more in depth. We're going to be available during the conference for live Zoom calls. And yeah, I just really want to speak to the uniqueness of these conferences because these are herbs, right? Comfrey, St. John's wort, that people don't know about and people don't use because of the fear and the misinformation that's been perpetuated about them for years, even in herbal schools. So this is a very unique, approach, right? Because Susan is bringing together people who have, years of experience with these plants in their practices, personal experience with these plants, to just, show that
Need
these
to end
are
the fear.
wonderful. Yes, let's end the fear. Let's end the nonsense. These are perfectly beautiful plant allies that are honestly underrated, and people are missing out by not having these plants in their lives. And they grow around us. You're in Spain, I'm in Canada, I was in Argentina, and she was blooming while I was there. These are all over the world. They're right outside our back doors, and we just need to get them into people's hands. So
Exactly.
super special. I've never seen anyone do something like this before.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And because it's online, you can connect from all over. And it's gonna, I think it's like, is it 7 days, 10 days of like worked like videos and Zoom sessions, question and answer. So we can leave the information down below too if people want.
Yes. Leave your link. And today is still, it's on sale. Oh, but this is going to be airing later. That's okay.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, that's okay. But we learned on the blog talk this week that if you submit a short, you get it for free. So
exactly.
Free. It's going to go up, but it's like very affordable. It's like $49 US for lifetime access. But if you submit a short, you get it.
And a short, and it can be anything. And like, that's such an interesting part of the conference because like people send in videos, and for all of you knitters and crocheters out there, it's wonderful content to just like put on as you are working on your sweater or whatever. And yeah, so the short videos are wonderful because they come from people from all over talking about their personal experience with Hypericum.
Yeah, you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be a herbalist.
No.
Yeah, it's like citizen science, right? It's like so neat.
It's so neat. Yeah. So if anyone has any experience, even if they've ever just tried it like a 1-minute video, you can send it in and you get lifetime access to the conference as well. That's really cool. Yeah, so super excited about the Hypericum Conference. I love Hypericum, and I know you do too, and it's just really cool. Okay, so I also wanted to talk to you about lymphatic massage because are you practicing that now?
I am, yeah, I am practicing now, and I've been practicing for 7 years now. And yeah, it's a really interesting practice. So the lineage that I was taught from is the Ayurvedic perspective and lineage. So from India, which is very unique. There's not many people doing it. Yeah, the most common practice is the water technique of lymphatic massage. And a lot of, I don't know what the terminology is where you live, but like registered massage therapists, they often learn a little bit about the water technique of lymphatic massage in their massage training. And then they can also go on to take more specific trainings to offer, full lymphatic drainage massage. But it's very different. So that technique doesn't use any oil. It's dry. That's the biggest difference, I would say. And then, my practice does use oil. And I think I'll just talk about my practice. Why was I comparing the two? I guess it's just because
to know.
Yeah, if someone's interested and they go to look, that's mostly what they're going to find. And in my personal opinion, I don't really like it with the dry. Like, it's very repetitive, right? They're like pressing, draining, and they kind of go over the same surfaces again and again and again. And I'm just very sensitive on my skin. So it actually doesn't feel very comfortable to me after, repeating so much. So we need more Ayurvedic.
Okay. And so you use oils and maybe even infused oils as well, right?
I do. I use herbal infused oils that I make for the massage. And I mean, some people don't even know what the lymphatic system is, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, go back to the basics because people might not.
Yeah, I remember in biology in high school learning like a paragraph about the lymphatic system. So it's a hugely overlooked system in the body. but so important. It's basically a huge part of our immune system. So it is a series of vessels that basically mirror our cardiovascular system. So everywhere we have blood vessels in the body, there's a separate system that has lymphatic vessels and lymphatic fluid moving through. And then there's also nodes, so lymph nodes along these vessels. There will be like a swelling, and that is where white blood cells, all the cells, macrophages, and things that attack intruders and things that aren't meant to be in the body, viruses, bacterias, they conglomerate in these nodes in our bodies, which again are all over, but definitely concentrated in the neck, in the groin, in the armpits, in around the knees. And then there are some organs also associated. So the spleen is like an immune organ. Of course, our liver is a huge immune organ. And yeah, those are like the main components of the lymphatic system. Yeah. And it's all about it's all about delivering nourishment to our cells and then removing waste products. So, carbon dioxide, things our body doesn't need. That's what it does all the time. And then on occasion, when there's something in our body that's not meant to be there, our lymph nodes will swell, our white blood cells will go on our defense and protect us. So yeah, hugely important system to support, especially because it doesn't have a heart to pump the fluid like our blood does. So it relies on gravity. It relies on our movement, our, not being sedentary all the time. And it relies on our hydration. So we can we have to be an active participant in our lymphatic health, and lymphatic massage is a beautiful way to do that.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, why is it important to move and to move the lymphatic system? Because there is no pump to it, right? Like,
that's the simple answer.
Yeah. So I feel that you dancing also is a wonderful help.
Yeah.
Love your lymph, right?
Lymph, yes, dancing, skipping, like any sort of movement, bouncing on a trampoline. Those are all really wonderful movements for the lymphatic system.
Very nice. And out of personal curiosity, so what type of herbs do you typically lean towards when infusing into oils to use for this practice?
Yeah, so I was taught to use essential oils and aromatherapy in my training, and I totally respect that. But I make herbal oils, right? So I just started using kind of whatever I had on hand at first. So I was using lavender and rosemary, which are not specific lymphatic herbs. It's just oils I had on hand. And then now, again, I had some red clover infused oil and rosehip oil. But this spring, that's one of my goals, is to make some specific lymphatic oils. And I'm thinking of cleavers. I'd like to make a green cleavers oil, maybe some violet leaf. Calendula is actually a wonderful lymphatic herb, which I totally have. So that could be part of the mix. Yeah, I'm going to be experimenting with specific lymphatic herbs this spring, actually.
Because I was thinking when you're talking about the lymph, the first herb that comes to my mind is cleavers. And I was wondering, had you ever tried, because I've made cleaver infusion, or I've just put some fresh cleavers in some water overnight, and that is really refreshing and delicious.
That's a wonderful.
But I'd never tried to make an oil with it. So
yeah, me neither. So it'll be an experiment. Yeah, I actually haven't really come across a lot of cleavers yet.
Okay.
So
they're on their way.
I'm calling that in this spring. I've seen a few here growing by the river, but yeah, I haven't really come across a patch of cleavers to harvest from. So I'm hoping that I get to meet them in that way this spring.
Very interesting.
Cleavers grows near you?
Oh yeah, and because we're having like nice warm weather, we already have got cleavers, we've got chickweed, we've got nettles, like everything is popping and yeah, and actually a lot of the cleavers are already flowering, they've got their little flowers. So
And your seasons are very different than ours,
a little
right?
bit earlier, yeah. A little bit earlier here over
And
in
I did think it's, we kind of we're scheduling this interview for many months, but it worked out kind of nice because it's spring, it's almost spring equinox, right?
Oh yeah, this will be out by the spring equinox. I'm gonna hopefully get it out this weekend. So this will be happy spring, happy equinox. We're all, yeah, I love it. Do you have any special recommendations for like things to do on the equinox? Do you have any personal activities you do?
Well, what I've always wanted to bring more ceremony into my life. And it's something I kind of like tried to do just by myself for a while. But it never really stuck. And then it's been a year and a half ago now, I started a women's circle in my community. And we still are gathering a year and a half later. It's just four of us. There were like many people who kind of came in and were like trying it out, but four of us stuck to it. And now, yeah, we still gather. Now we gather every second week, and then we also gather for every equinox, solstice, cross quarter day. And we have a little ceremony. And so that's what I do. And so I guess my recommendation would be if you've never been in a woman-only space,
Mhm.
seek it out, call it in, create it. It's just hard to put into words. I never was in a space like that until 4 years ago, maybe. And I just had no idea what I was missing, and really just the magic that can happen when women gather. And so we've started, doing ceremonies for all those special days on the wheel of the year. And the beautiful thing that I love about our little group is we're not super like strict or structured about our ceremonies. We all kind of come in, we do a little bit of planning, but then we just kind of come in and all bring our elements, and it just spontaneously is always beautiful. And it usually involves dancing around a fire, which I also highly recommend.
That sounds definitely highly recommendable. No, dance by fire. That's so beautiful. That's really
Yeah,
nice.
it's so beautiful. And for spring equinox, we are going to be planting some seeds in a
Oh,
special way. So we did that last year. We did a little seed swap and planted some sunflowers. And so I think we'll do something similar again this year. Yeah.
that's so nice. And the equinox, I think it coincides with new moon, right? The new moon this year.
Now we're coming up to new moon for sure.
I think
Yeah.
it's important what you said about like calling in those people, like calling in a lot of people, especially in the knitting and fiber community. Maybe there are people who are sitting at home alone, working with fiber and stuff, or maybe they're interested in plants or whatever, but maybe they don't realize that around them are people who would love to like come and sit together and drink tea and talk about life. It doesn't even have to be a ceremony for the equinox, but it can just be like coming together.
I love that because that's something else we've started to do, is like we'll just get together and process herbs or go harvest herbs together, or do crafts, things that you'd usually be doing by yourself.
Hmm.
This community and conversation is so beautiful. Um, Alongside those activities.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised like how many people are near you and are interested in this. So I think
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
put
and it's
yourself
something
out
I
there.
really love, and I didn't know where to find it. And I really did just like it was Chinese Lunar New Year like 4 years ago, and I just was like, I want more women gatherings in my life. And sure enough, they just like popped up and came, and then I created my own because I didn't find what I was looking for in my community.
And how did you create your own? Like, did you put out something online? Put up
I was living somewhere where there wasn't even like internet or cell service. So I literally
posters.
posters at the bus stop and at the little grocery store.
That's amazing, Jaycee. I'm like really proud of you. Like anyone here who's looking for a knitting circle, a women's circle or something, just make some posters.
With,
That old
like a
school.
little image. And yeah, the right people found that poster. So
That's so cool. That's so cool.
I'd love to hear if you're doing anything for spring equinox.
Honestly, I don't have anything planned, but I was thinking because I was looking at my schedule and I'm pretty sure that I am free on Tuesday. On Tuesday? Are we talking about the equinox on Tuesday or Monday?
I don't have my planner with me right now, so
Is it the 20th or the 21st?
I can't.
Around
Oh,
it. I don't
that's
know.
easy. I like
Well,
to kind of think of it as like a little window of time, you know? So like
that's true. That's true. And so I was thinking that like because like the astros aligned and like students move times and stuff, I'm pretty sure that I have the entire day on Tuesday free. And I was like, I'm either going to go to the river or the sea. Like I would like to be by a body of water. And now that you're talking about being in company, I think I'm going to see if who I can recruit to come and join me because I think that would be nice to be together and yeah.
yeah.
Think it's
Oh.
important to find people who, yeah, who are doing things that light you up. So, which leads me to one of my last and favorite questions, which is if there's anyone who has been inspiring you or anyone that you would like to recommend to us. I kind of like to leave it open if there's anything. It doesn't have to be in the plant world, doesn't have to be someone you know. I don't know, but just any recommendation that you want to give us or tell us?
Yeah. I have two.
Good.
And one of them is my co-teacher, Andy, of Smoke and Forage, and she also does birth work as well. So she's got two separate accounts that I can share with you all. But yeah, she has been so inspiring to me. Something I didn't really mention was with our class that we're teaching, something really unique about both of us, and Andy has a lot of lived experience with this, is not having to choose between like herbal medicine and modern Western medicine.
Very important.
Yeah, using drugs and herbs together, the one thing that you're told never to do. We actually talk about that, about how to safely integrate all these pieces and to really not stigmatize or shame people who like have found a pharmaceutical that really works for them. And so, yeah, that's a big part of our teaching together, which I just love. We kind of walk this middle way of having experience in both realms and just offering people all the choices. So I'd love to recommend her and her work. And then the other person is my friend Teresa, who is just beginning her journey of a new business. I don't even know if I can like talk about it yet because she's not done her training yet.
Okay.
But I will refer people to her current work, which is goddess sculptures of like ancient times. She's a beautiful ceramic artist and just seriously inspires me so much with the work she produces and creates. And yeah, just like putting herself out there in that way. I know it's like vulnerable and hard as an artist, to like share your creations, and she's so inspiring to me. So I'd love to share her artwork as well.
Thank you. Well, I will ask you later, and I will put the information here and down below so people can find. That's wonderful. Beautiful. Oh, I love it. We didn't even get into talking about birth work and everything, but that's for a second chapter.
Part two.
Part two, because I think that's also really interesting what you're doing. I love that you're doing so many things and that you are sharing with the world what you have learned in all of this time and everything. And I hope that people can find you and maybe get into these classes that you're offering or come see us at the Hypericum Conference and share their shorts and everything. So So beautiful, Jaycee. Well, thank you for coming and hanging out for a bit. It was really lovely to talk with
Oh,
you finally in
come on.
person. And I think that this was also something to encourage people to like reach out to people that you feel connected to. You know, you might be surprised that like people, even on the internet, like you can make friendships with people and be connected in that way as well.
Yeah, to, support and uplift and inspire and collaborate. We don't have to do all this on our own. I think that's a huge one for me, at least, that I'm exploring. So
Mhm.
thank you for reaching out to me to have this beautiful conversation. And I'm grateful for our little friendship that's blossomed. And who knows if we'll get to meet one day, but I hope so.
I'm sure one day our paths will cross because the world is not that big and there are, yes. So one day we can share a walk in the woods to collect some Hypericum or something like that.
I want to see Mother Wort growing in her native environment. So
No, but I don't have motherwort growing
I
anywhere.
did.
You
Okay,
don't either?
no, not wild. So I
Neither do I. And
I want
I'm
she's from.
Oh wow. Okay, so we need to call her in and find her because
Maybe
I
that's where
also
we'll meet. Maybe that's where we'll meet in the world.
my gosh, I know because it's like the only plant that I have not been able to like find. Leonoris cardiaca. If anyone here in Spain knows where to find Leonoris cardiaca, please let me know. And if you are in the northern Pacific coast area and know where to find it, please tell Jaycee because we need some motherwort. Such a beautiful
Definitely.
herb. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you. And I wish you the best of luck with everything. And I will leave all the information so that you can go find Jaycee on Unfurl Wellness online and everything. And I will see you again soon.
See you soon, friend.
Bye.
Bye.